Now is the winter of our discontent. Make me a willow coat.
Date is
The
better
abuse of
in
great
your pocket
blessings.
and your
And
porridge.
destroy
What do you mean?
so
I think
music
the
be the food of love. Play on.
I'll give you that. Powder me,
The crown. Son of York.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shakespeare's, the show where I, your host, Daniel Watterson, interview my peers, which usually means people that I'm a huge fan of, so really my betters, about Shakespeare. So our guest today, I've written you a little intro, so sit tight and listen to this.
Okay.
A gifted actor of great ability who marries great skill with emotional availability. We met on Twelfth Night and Romeo and Juliet. And when I first saw that they'd offered to the same actor the role of Malvolio and Mercutio, I thought, this guy's got to be something special. Turns out he was. I thought this guy had to be something special. And, you know, these two roles are potentially two of the best roles in those two shows. And usually in repertory, an actor will have a big role, like a lion's role, and then a smaller role in the next show, but not in this case. So my next guest had two of the largest, most colorful, most demanding roles in these two shows. And of course, he performed them gloriously, bringing interpretations that were truly his own, wildly different from one another, but the same in one essential way, that he brought an emotional realism which when combined with Shakespeare creates something truly powerful. Since then, this man has gone on to perform in a number of theatre and film productions, even winning a Broadway World Houston Award for Best Actor for his portrayal of D'Artagnan in The Three Musketeers. Ladies and gentlemen, drumroll please, I give you Stanley Andrew Jackson III.
How y'all doing? How you doing? How you doing, Dan?
Stanley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
Gosh,
having me.
I'm so thrilled that you said yes.
I'm thrilled you asked me.
But then that's what you do as an actor. It's one of your great, and I know that's sort of a key acting thing is to say yes and that is something that you exemplify on stage.
Yeah.
That I always felt that I could throw anything at you.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's about playing. That's how you
Yeah.
play, right? It's all about playing, and saying yes is the best thing. It's better than saying no, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're taught, but sometimes it's hard. You know, you get scared and you want to shut down options. The body can go into that kind of response, and that's not something. How do you do that? How do you psychologically prepare for to get yourself into that sense of play and freedom?
Yeah. You know, I think it's, for me, I'm very grateful because my main desire in life is to be open. I think the world is filled with a lot of protection, and so being closed off. And so in life, I work to become open. I'm a spiritual being, you know, I'm a Christian. So my whole desire is to be Christ-like, and Christ was open, you know, he just loved people, right? So when I approach my work, I bring that to my work. You know, it's also how I don't judge characters, because I want to see who they are. You know, people are just bad people. There's a reason why we are who we are, you know? So when it comes with working, when it comes with playing with a fellow actor, I want to stay open, because I want you to receive my choices. And so I try to do that for other people, and I try to do it in everyday life as much as possible.
And do you bring that to, obviously that's important for rehearsal, and maybe this depends on the director, but after rehearsal, how do you find that in doing a show every night?
You know, there are some nights it's better than others, because as an actor, you have to meet yourself where you are every day, right? So if I have a day that's just like absolutely terrible, I can't position myself to be like, yesterday we was open. You know, I try to meet myself every day, and wherever I am, you know, I try to work from there. You know, you never know what's going to happen with another actor, you know, so staying present. My main thing is staying present, you know, because I was just doing Three Musketeers. It was great to get the award and all this sort of stuff, but the guy who played my dad, he would throw different lines to me at the beginning of the show every day. So you have to stay present. and not want to be that one of those actors like, hey, you know, like I just wanted to be open, present, receptive. I don't know what's going on in his life. I don't know, you know. So staying open and present as much as you can with where you are every day at each moment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly showed in some of the fun that we had on stage, and I'm so sad that I haven't been able to watch your D'Artagnan, because I can just imagine you in this role. You know, there's a line where Mercutio describes Tybalt as the Prince of Cats, but I always thought that descriptions fit you so well, Stanley. Cats in some ways are mercurial, right? They can either be your best friend, or they can be like this powerful, unpredictable animal. But also the way that because you originally, or as part of your life in the arts, you've also been a dancer as well, and the way that you move is kind of so intertwined with how you perform.
Yeah. It's really important for me to be in my body, you know, as an artist. And I really pressed into that when I was in drama school. You know, we had to take one dance class the first semester of drama school. And I just kept taking them for the next 4 years because I recognized how important and it was for me to be connected to my body and connected to the ground, and how that had an influence in my work, and how it also led to me being free and open. You know, it's why I think yoga as an actor is so important. It's like being open, releasing all the tension, all the stuff that we carry, you know. And so dance is one of the ways that has really allowed me to release and to just, you know, be present in my body. And then I feel like I can create anybody at any moment.
Do you find that it helps
helps
you to make discoveries with your art?
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, we actors can lead with different things. We can lead with our heads. We can lead with our hearts. We can lead with our bodies. Do you?
Yeah, it's one of the ways, because it's always different. I don't have a process. I let each role like sort of speak to me and where it is, you know. But it is, I realize a lot of times when I'm creating a person, I start to lead different. I'm not aware of it initially, but I start to notice that a part of me is leading. And when I become physically aware of that, it determines a lot of other things, like maybe how I talk, maybe how I interact, or how my physicality changes depending on who I'm talking to, because our relationship. You know, it leads into so many different things.
There's an Uta Hagen. Uta Hagen's an acting teacher, and one of her exercises, it's actually a phone call exercise where you pretend to phone 3 different people, and it might be somebody personal, somebody familial like your mom or your dad, and then maybe somebody professional like your boss. And how does your voice change when you speak? And how's your physicality change? And it's an exercise. And one of the things I wanted to ask you when it comes to physicality, and since this is kind of an interview about our experiences with Shakespeare, how do you find physicality helps you with a Shakespearean text, with verse or with prose? Do you do physical exercises that help you interpret the thoughts, or to
I have done physical exercises to help me interpret the thoughts, because especially early on, you know, I didn't really have a big Shakespeare background, leaving an airplane, leaving college, because in my undergrad program we had one Shakespeare class, and for me, I was like, this is just not enough, because I knew that if I could master Shakespeare some way, or if I could just understand it better, I would just be a better artist, period. You know, I knew that somehow in my head, you know, even knowing nothing really, I knew that, you know. So I did a Shakespeare program in Oxford in England for a month the summer after my junior year. And then that's when I decided I wanted to go to school for Shakespeare, for grad school. And it was really there that I sort of realized, like, there's a lot to this. And I learned this exercise, you know, of jumping chairs when I was switching thoughts, because I had a problem with driving the thought, because there's a long thoughts.
Yeah, and sometimes within a sentence between 2 punctuation marks, we've got thoughts that tack one way, tack back the other way, then kind of jump somewhere else, and then come back to where they were before. And that's athletic. That is, yeah.
It's like a dance. You know, Shakespeare really is like a dance. It's like a vocal dance. So there are like chair exercises that I would do, like, you know, there's little things that I would do to sort of get myself into a rhythm of moving, because there's movement in Shakespeare. Shakespeare really isn't stagnant. It's always moving forward. There's something that someone wants from someone, and there's a reason. One of the things that I love about Shakespeare is the fact that his characters are expressive. They say what they mean, and they feel what they feel, and they say, they express that. And so physically, that's always important. There will be times when I'm faking an emotion. I have to do something. I'll punch. Who is that? Laban. Laban is very physical. Trying to find the effect that's connected to this feeling. If I can't find the feeling inside myself, I will externally create it so that it can get inside.
Laban is, I think, a very useful tool for all actors. So Laban, which was originally, I understand, a language that was composed to understand dance. And it sort of has three categories. There's a speed, fast, slow. There's a weight, light, heavy. And then there's a focus, direct or kind of indirect. And when you combine those three in different ways, you create these different energies. And we did Laban at drama school as well, and we would experiment with each of these. I think there's 8 or 9 combinations. And you'd find for a certain thing, an animal might help you. If you imagine a butterfly, that might give you the lightness and the kind of that indirect, or a gorilla might give you that weightiness and that focus, or a fencer might give you the focus, but a lightness and speed, so I found that very useful for learning about how my body informed a persona or a feeling. So but that always struck me about your work. And I want to just catch on something you said before about when you're not feeling it, when you're not feeling emotional, and you got to punch. Because you, as an actor, you're someone who is very emotionally connected, who is very emotionally available. Available is perhaps the best word. I still remember at the end when you performed as Malvolio and you come back, and Malvolio arguably is treated pretty poorly in Twelfth Night. You have tears coming down your cheeks, and it's tough in what's supposed to be a comedy, especially one with so much revelry, and you come in with this, and of course there's Mercutio as well. So how do you, Stanley, how do you find that emotion, or how do you, when you're not feeling it, tell me your process with that and the challenges with that.
The biggest challenge is that I always am looking to connect. It's also it's the challenge I have as a person. Like, I love connecting with people, period, in life, right? And so when it comes to my characters, I actually really redevised this theory, and I said I actually become their therapist. And so for a lot of actors, that's not helpful because it forces them to psychoanalyze. But for me, I really just want to understand them with no judgment. I want to understand who they are. And once I can understand who a person is, I sort of begin to sympathize deeply with them, truly, honestly. And the daily part of that, of doing the show, is that it's just always bigger than me. Like, I may come in feeling terrible, but let's meet that and let's work from there, and let's use it as much as we can, being safe to ourselves, because it's bigger than me. And so my main process is always just trying to really figure out and connect with a character like I would with a real person, and knowing who they are so they can become a real person, that they're operating through me. So I try to meet myself, and by meeting myself, I meet them.
I really resonate with that, Stanley, because one of the things somebody once said to me, a teacher or a mentor, is that, and this is a generalization, but nobody goes around in life going, I'm a villain, I'm a baddie, I'm such a, I mean, maybe they're doing themselves up, but nobody generally walks around with this kind of narrative of, I'm going to do villainous things, those Bond villains. Everybody has a story that they're telling themselves that is generating their point of view and their thoughts. And so, you know, whenever I play a baddie, I really
Mm-hmm.
struggle if other
Mm-hmm.
people on set or whatever are making judgments about that character and going, oh, he's such a this, he's such a that, because I never see it that way.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
put the
yeah.
outside of
Look,
him, he's such a sleaze or he's such a this. And I go, no, you know,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm very sensitive to that. That's how I felt about Malvolio. First of all, I am not the typical casting for Malvolio.
And why is that, Stanley?
Well, because traditionally, Malvolio is a white old man, gray beard, 60s, maybe older, maybe a little bit younger. And so for me to play Malvolio, it was immediately a challenge and a stretch. And I remember reading it, being like, what am I gonna do? And my biggest thing is always, go ahead. Sorry.
It's a challenge even for you not to smile. I mean, look at this big, beautiful smile of yours.
I know, which is something I turned off.
You had to.
Until the moment, until the change happened.
When Olivia says in a letter, what you think is
in a letter. Yeah.
She says,
when Olivia says in a letter that, she loves him, and he believes it. And so for me.
And she bids you smile. She says, be
yes,
merry.
Yes.
Smile. Come to me smiling.
And he's a man who is so devoted to his job. He's so committed, His job is to keep the order in the house. And so those are the things that people will say, oh, Malvolio's this, he's pompous, No, he lives to keep order. Nothing else matters. So if she said in the letter, smile, what am I going to do? I'm going to smile. My whole body is going to smile. And that's essentially, that's the shift. And so for me, playing a character that was difficult for me, like that people saw as a villain or as the antagonist, I just wanted to play his heart. He didn't have time to watch Maria Feste, Sir Andrew Aguecheek, Toby Belch play around. No, I need you guys to get it together. And I know for me, I have a little sister. When she wants to play, Mama says, you need to get it together. So I take in from my own life, how I would navigate with the situation. Yes, I am smiling, but that's not me all the time. There is some part of me that has demons. There is a part of darkness. We all have darkness and light. We just choose not to always show the darkness. So it's in there. So I tap into the parts of me that I don't like. And that can be a bit scary for actors. So Malvolio definitely brought that up.
Do you as an actor, and there are different ways in different schools to put ourselves in in the world of the text, and some of that is some actors use personal substitutions when they think about things in their own lives that would take them there. Some of them use personal history. Others use imagination, where they just go, well, this hasn't happened to me, but if I imagine myself in this scenario, still others go, look, it's not my job to feel anything. It's just my job to, I can't remember who it is. It's just my job to say the lines.
Right.
The circumstances to inform and, for people to project. So for you, I think you said earlier, you kind of depends on the role, but.
Yeah. And it depends on, it really depends. I don't always like exactly mirror things, but I try to imagine I work from how would I do it? And then I lift it to the world and make sure I can live in the world. It's like when I'm breaking down Shakespeare text, especially very early on, I would really look up every word, see what the etymology is, what the origin of the word was, what was the intention in the text, right? And then on the side, I would be like, what is he really saying? So I would say it how I would say it, to be or not to be. Is that the question? Do I want to kill myself or not? Like asking myself that question for real. Like, really? I'm really questioning, do I want to kill myself or not? And then take it into the actual text.
Yeah.
So that's something that I operate through that. And then once I can bring my truth to the text, then I find some freedom. And then I get to play because I know what's actually going on. If I don't know, a director really, and Ben Naylor was one of the directors that directed us in Romeo and Juliet at the initial season of Pop-Up Globe. And he knows me so well because he was my tutor in grad school. He knows me so well. He knows when I understand something and when I don't, because there's a huge difference. Because I can be very clear.
Yeah. And isn't that brilliant? Isn't that wonderful to have a coach like that who can say, Dan, I know you don't know you don't know what you're saying. Or, you know, Dan, you're falling back on that thing you always do. Or Dan, you're playing it safe here. Or Dan, you're going into that vocal part of your register, which is when you feel scared. So you go there to have some control. You know, let it go. What a gift.
Yeah.
And I remember Ben doing this to all of us, but he'd stop you mid sentence and he'd say, "What's your thought? What are you thinking? What's your thought? Tell me." And you have to go, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm thinking,
Nothing.
right?
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love,
I mean,
so
he did that all the time.
you identified a couple of techniques there, and one is obviously the book work, and the other was a wonderful exercise you just described, where you kind of have the Shakespearean words, and then next to it you put it in your own words and you say them, and the tone, the rhythm, the feeling, the imagery that you associate with that language, you can then bring back. I think the book work is so important as well. You talked about looking up the meaning of the words. Do you also do the rhythmic,
The verse,
marking out the verse, the I ams, is this a you know, a strict I am, or is it a female ending? Is it all that sort of stuff?
it depends, because I think Shakespeare is so brilliant. He has given us roadmaps in that sort of work, in that, you know, that's you know, that technique. There is a roadmap in that, you know, because there may be things in a text, a word maybe that you weren't even thinking about, that sometimes when you really go through and you do scansion, which is basically when you're really trying to get into the meter and understand the rhythm of the text, you can gain revelation and insight about, oh, this is what he's trying to say, because that is important, you know. You know, and you can also get feeling and emotion sometimes from that. But like anything, once it's in the book, I use it to get as much insight from the book. But once I take it on my feet, it's sort of all in the back, and I just let my spirit go.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel you. So that book work is almost like your detective work, right?
Yeah.
You're looking for clues.
Yeah.
Or what
I
does
was just
Shakespeare
telling a friend that
stress?
I'm
Has
a
he
human
broken the rules?
scientist.
Was that?
I was just telling a friend that I'm a human scientist. So I'm just like trying to unpack the thing.
Well, that's what theater should be about, right? If theater is about teaching us about the human condition, then it's your job as an actor to understand, or allow yourself at a physiological level to go through that human journey. So that book work is so important.
Yeah.
What about the pop-up globe stage?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your experience with that stage, performing in the round with 300
Yeah.
degrees of audience around you, the
Man,
conventions that they applied to? What was your experience with that?
honestly, it was the most rewarding thing I've ever experienced, simply because I've never been an actor and felt like a rock star. You know, rock stars really, you know, they're playing music that's going, you know, crazy, and the audience is feeding so much to them, right? And in the globe space, it's the same thing. You know, you have people that are responding in the moment, people, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Um, you have people who are eating right there. It's like we become this one body, this one organism. You know, being in the round really, and at the globe, really force you to become one organism. And you see the different tiers of that organism, the people that you need something. We need each other. Like we really need each other, you know. I need something from the people in the pit. I need something from the people up there. You know, we need something from each other. And it's something about like energy that operates like this, you know, that's cyclical. It's the most rewarding thing. And it forced me as well to be present every day. It's why I could never be like, oh, this happened yesterday, I'm going to expect. No, I have to come ready for the new experience every day. And so that was exciting. You know, it sort of never made it boring, because you never knew what you were going to get. You had a different audience when you were doing a school matinee for a bunch of girls.
That's right.
As opposed to a Friday night show, you know.
Yeah. I remember a few of those shows, Stanley.
Do you?
What
I saw on your website that one, you had the photo from that one show. You remember with the water?
Hey, come on. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I definitely would.
I'll put a link below in the video. People can check that out. No, I won't. Have you got some favorite memories from that time, or moments or experiences?
Honestly, that is one really. First of all, I know this is you interviewing me, but I want to let you guys know that one of Dan is probably one of my favorite actors that I've gotten to work with, probably in the past 5 years, to be really honest, because I am a person who enjoys giving and who enjoys saying yes, and I don't always get those actors back. And why Dan may affirm my, you know, me saying yes, he does the exact same thing. And so, honestly, you always sort of do bring sort of like a tear to my eye. I'm not gonna go there now because I'm like, you know,
Do it. Do it.
but
Cry for me.
you
No.
working with you, like us playing Mercutio and Benvolio, was one of my favorite memories because every day was so new and so different. And when it comes to working on stage, I love that. That's how I don't get bored. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting paid to do this, but I'm having fun. Also a huge memory and something I really enjoyed was playing Celia, playing a woman. That was a huge, you know that because you played Olivia in 12th Night. Playing Celia was, sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going. You keep going. I've got a picture. So while you narrate,
Okay, yeah.
try and
Playing Celia was a crazy experience because I remember when I was playing Malvolio and Dan was playing Olivia, I was thinking, like, I told them, I was like, I will never play a woman. Like, Dan's great. Like, he's beautiful, but I'm never going to do this. And so the second season came up and they offered me to play this woman. And I was like, okay, sure. And I didn't really know what I was going to do, but one of the most beautiful things about how I engage in the process is I let things lead me. And I was like, especially that was at a time when women were really fighting for the right to be seen. And so I was just like, I can't really play. Oh, Celia, Rosalind and Celia. Oh God. Oh, Celia. I love her. I really do. She still has a special place in my heart. It was a very big moment for me in my life, like playing her. I really discovered how much of a man I was simply because it was a lot of effort and work to become her every day. And I was like, wow, I honored women more. And that was one of my goals with that role. I really wanted to honor women. And I wanted to honor the women in my life. I really wanted to honor my little sister. Celia was a lot of my little sister. My little sister is like very loving, has a big heart, but she's also very sassy and has no fear in telling you the truth. Mm. And so with Celia, I really felt like that was my goal every day. I really wanted to love Rosalind, but I also wanted to find her vulnerability because I love that. I love that about characters, whether they're evil or not. I love finding their hearts. We need to see people's hearts. If every day we would see people's hearts more, we would thrive. Our world would be a better place.
I feel like sometimes these roles teach us more than we give or than we teach, or in telling their story. I really felt that with Olivia. I learned so much, and it's still possibly some of the greatest stuff I've ever felt as a performer, as an actor, because of the internal transformation. Mm-hmm. And you're right, at the time there's also a lot of political questions around men, or those who identify as men, playing women. And this is in the first few seasons of Pop-Up, where they the idea, the concept was that we were reproducing theater as it would have been, although arguably actually these women would have been played by very young boys. But nonetheless, I think we both, to the best that we could, tried to honor the women in our lives, but also the what is shared between us as when you put man and woman aside, what is the heart of this person.
And that's what I really realized with Celia. I was like, she just loves very hard, and she enjoys being honest. And I was like, that sounds a lot like me. I love very hard, and I love being honest.
I feel the way that you're talking, Stanley, is that for each of these characters, you find a way in. With her, it's the love, it's the being honest. With Malvolio, it's seeing a chaotic world and going, I'm the only one who can bring order to this place. This guy's drunk. This woman's, chaos. Feste is, who even knows what he's up to? My lady is grieving. She's got a broken heart. Everyone's in chaos. But I am calm in the middle of the storm, and I am dependable.
Yeah.
And I will bring order, and I will carry out my duty. So, do you want to see more pictures?
Sure.
Okay.
And even with you saying that, like, it really makes me think about the fact that, I always want my characters to be a mirror to someone, So, like, that's someone's story. They want to keep order in chaos. That's someone's story. They have a big heart.
That's what makes it interesting, right? I mean, we can put stuff up to entertain, but if you put a real person on stage, then there are people in the audience and who go, I know that person.
Yeah, and I think that's why people sort of opened up to me playing Malvolio. I heard audience members really open up, like, older Caucasian women being like, I know Shakespeare, and I came here not wanting to, take it in, but something about the journey, the honesty, I guess, that, was there, that it made sense,
Sorry, I'm just conscious of the time. We've got a few minutes left. So we'll cycle through a few more pictures. And I just want to make sure there's nothing that I haven't asked you that I really wanted to. We haven't talked much about Mercutio, so maybe we'll look at some of those pictures. But maybe I'll kick it off with asking you, maybe out of those three characters, Celia, Mercutio, and Malvolio, who was hardest to play? What was the greatest challenge amongst those characters for you? Was there a particular challenge or a difficulty?
I'll just give you a quick snippet. The greatest challenge was Celia, but I will just go quickly. Now, Mercutio, what was hard was the freedom. While I am a free young man who loves that, he was so free. So I had to find that every day. He was just like Mercutio, and he was, so funny, so grotesque, so passionate. So that freedom was something to find while also playing Malvolio, who was not free, at least not at the beginning. Even in his freedom, it was a play at freedom. It wasn't the truth that existed inside of him, right? So he was, wound up, he was tense. That was sort of the thing that kept me. It was like he was a broomstick. That was sort of the image that I kept.
That's a nice image.
Yeah. And the hardest person was Celia. Celia was always the hardest because that was an actual transformation. Like, I had to spend 45 minutes to do my makeup every day. I used to come to the theater so early.
Yeah.
I know. I used to come to the theater so early because I didn't want the anxiety of things not being done. So I would be there super early. So my makeup and my face was just done. So I could do whatever I want. I could do yoga. As long as my face was already done, I was good,
Mm-hmm.
So I would be there. So I would be there before stage managers get there sometimes.
Me too, as Olivia. I get there an hour before everybody else just to get that face done, to get the physicality, maybe put the corset on and the wig, and then to feel. But that, especially the face to begin with, and the hair.
The face and the body, and having to completely transform my body and keep it consistent throughout a whole play.
You know that by the end of the season, wearing that corset, my ribs actually changed shape, and I actually my ribs at the bottom came in, and I actually had that hourglass figure. That is so desirable. They reset after. Don't worry, I'm back to normal now. For a time.
Nice. I can't say that was my same experience because we started to not wear corsets anymore. Yeah, you didn't know, but
you fraud.
Yeah, because we started to realize that hurt, and I don't need it. I learned how to
part of it. The pain of the corset, the pain of the hairpins. We curl up the hair and stab pins through and have that wig on. And sometimes if you're doing 2 shows, I might not take the hairnet off between the shows. So I might be in that wig for 8 hours.
I found the balance between actually going through the pain and acting it.
That's true. Different methods, everyone. Different methods.
Different methods.
Some pictures here. We've got, sorry, it's not so high quality, but we've got your beautiful Malvolio. He's still a bit serious here. Man. And then
Oh God.
Tell us about this picture.
Okay, so this is obviously when he read the letter and he's coming in smiling, pursuing
Look at
Olivia.
that smile, everybody. Look at those teeth. Look at that
I mean,
jaw. You're like some kind of ancient prehistoric shark. I don't know how you've got your jaw open. You're like Pac-Man.
I just feel so. It's funny because it's just like the costume, like he has this cod piece. It's all the yellow stocking. So he's come there to really take Olivia. And then I guess I used to walk before I used to go out on that scene. I was like, here we go. And I used to just let it out.
And as a scene, it's so, narratively, it kind of joins a bunch of subplots.
Yeah.
You've got Olivia's romantic journey going on. You've got your journey. You've got Mariah's kind of journey. And these suddenly come together in this ridiculous scene. And Olivia has no idea what's wrong with you. She thinks you're mad. You've obviously read this letter and all of that austerity that's probably, he takes his duty very solemnly. But the first time in his life, he's been given this permission. And Mariah, cheeky old Mariah, just pretending in the background to not know what's going on.
Yes, and Stephen Butterworth being amazing.
Oh, goodness. And that's another scene that often, because Stephen's another person who can roll with anything.
Yes, which is so fun. So fun to play with.
Things would happen. We had things drop from the ceiling.
And how we would play with them. Wasn't there? Oh, do you remember that day when the ice cream wrapper fell on the stage and then I tried to cover my cod piece with the ice cream wrapper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, what memories.
While we've got some time left, tell me a little bit about this guy.
Oh, Mercutio. Mercutio, I feel like he was a hidden lover. I feel like he actually had love. He just didn't understand what it was. And I feel like he had deep love for Romeo. So there was a bit of, in my analysis of him, there's a bit of jealousy and not knowing how to process. He's a young boy. So on the outside, Mercutio looks like one who doesn't believe in love. He just believes in lust. He's all about what can I get? What can I receive? But let's be really honest. Most people who are like that, this is the therapist in me, they have a reason why they're like that. Yeah. And for me, that was really what I fed off of daily, was like, yeah, but why? Because you really love Romeo. You don't know how to. I'm not saying I'm not going to push the homosexual agenda, but there is love that you don't know how to navigate. It's
so important to find that why for Mercutio, because he has some dexterous lines and some long monologues full of imagery, but underneath it all, it's got to be motivated. And you see, if you look at what Mercutio does all the time, he's bursting people's bubbles. He's bursting Romeo's bubble constantly, making fun of him. He's teasing Tybalt. But where does that come from? As a person who used to tease and torment all my siblings, it comes from somewhere. It comes from a need.
A deep need to be seen. In a way.
Seen. Yeah. Where's this next picture? Looks like a blank screen.
You there?
Hello?
You there?
Can you see?
Okay, yeah. It froze for a second. Oh, wow.
Now, this is one of my favorite pictures.
Oh, yeah. I love this picture.
Tell me about this.
I feel like I'll get framed one day.
Oh, man.
This is the hardest moment for me.
Yeah.
This is one of the hardest moments for me in the play. I remember in the rehearsal room, this was very difficult to do. And I actually had to work with Ben Naylor, our director. I had to work with his wife one-on-one. It was just hard for me to navigate this idea of dying and also having to continue to talk. That's a hard thing, and Shakespeare does that. He gives that to a lot of his characters, but especially Mercutio in this moment, And
it would be very easy to make that comedic, right? And you see that in films that make fun of Shakespeare, when they're dying and then they're back and they say something more, and then they die again, and then they're back. And that's not at all the choice that we made here, and that's not Ben's choice for this either. It was hyper realistic. How did you
And I love that because I feel like, like you said, everything really needs a why to it, right? And for me, he got into the fight to protect Romeo, you know? So essentially, the pain he's feeling is because, in a way, Romeo betrayed him, So there's betrayal he's feeling there, and then the betrayal of the person who's actually hurt him, who's
That's really
actually
good,
cut him.
Stan, because Mercutio goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Tybalt comes on and he teases him a little bit. But as soon as Romeo comes in and Romeo kneels in front of Tybalt and Romeo says, I love you, Tybalt, more than you know. And then all of a sudden Mercutio's just,
Yeah.
you're all
Because I
knives,
think
knives out.
it's talking about pride, like you just gave yourself up to him, and this time, like, what? That's a huge oath, and oaths in Shakespeare are everything,
And then as a final betrayal, you die under Romeo's arm. Not that he
Yeah.
stabs you, but the text says that he tries to get between you, and then the killing stroke happens while there's that kerfuffle, and you even
Yeah.
say to Romeo, you kind of, before you say a curse on both your houses, you blame him.
Yeah. Because essentially it's his fault. It is. At least that's what I allow myself to believe. It's his fault. First of all, if you wouldn't have kneeled, if you wouldn't have gotten in the way, this would have. I call him the Prince of Cats because I'm the king. So he would have never killed me had I not been distracted.
One last question.
Yeah.
Before we go. In both, perhaps in all three of your roles, but especially Malvolio and Mercutio, both those characters have huge comedic moments and huge dramatic moments. They're neither purely a dramatic character or a comedic character.
Mm-hmm.
And do you find one easier than the other, comedy or drama, or do you have a different approach for each?
Okay, I'm going to tell you and the kids who watch this the truth. I hate comedy, but people always are laughing at me. And I think that's a part of why it's funny, because I don't try to play anything comedic. I just want to play the truth. I think comedy is best when the person who's doing the funny thing doesn't know. And I actually, a lot of times, this is real honest, but that was the sun. It's real honest, but like, I need to know what's funny. A part of me is like, oh, that's ignorant. And a part of me is like, oh, this is great. Because now I'm not going to get in my head about the thing needing to be funny. So I'm just going to play the truth, and the truth will be funny. So it is difficult to navigate, but my main focus is always like, oh, I'm just going to play the truth. Because something may be funny one day, and it's not the next day. And if my identity and in my performance is wrapped up in, dang, the audience and laugh at that thing.
How does that feel?
Yeah. And it's like, but I have 12 more scenes to do. So I just want to play the truth.
Hard not to judge as you're going, you're 20 minutes in, and
that's something to navigate. That's something hard to navigate, but because it's funny, especially during pop-up, people will be like, oh, they're not feeling it. And it's like, you have to be very aware that people and audiences aren't always the same. Sometimes people are laughing because they're either feeling or they're thinking or they're listening. So I try to do what I don't want people to do. I don't want to judge the audience. I want them to judge me. Because you really never know. We think we know, but we don't always know.
And I was listening to an interview with Tom Hanks and Adam Driver last night, and they both said, Adam Driver said, it's not my job to feel, because I could be having all the feelings in the world, but people might not be feeling, and the job is for them to feel. And Tom Hanks said, I might be doing a scene and thinking, yeah, I nailed that. And then he watches it and he's like, there's nothing there. But equally he might be feeling like he's stumbling through blindly, and then he watches it and it's magic because it was authentic. And he said, whether it's comedy or drama, as long as it's coming from an authentic place, it will read.
Yeah.
What you're saying as well is that the approach is the same regardless, as long as you're playing the truth.
Yeah, that's it. That's really it. That's my main focus, and as I'm trying to do more TV and film, that's the newest focus I have, and trying to do it in a fresh new way, sometimes you don't always get the full script. So it's like, how can I create a full human being in this? But yeah, that's always the focus. How can I tell the truth?
Well, you have it all, Stanley. You've got. I'm so excited that you're in LA. You're chasing your dreams. You've got you've got the right approach. I love working with you. I love watching you grow. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We could keep talking and talking and talking. There's some stuff that I wanted to talk to you about as well. We talked a bit about that offline, but maybe we'll do a part 2. I don't know, but blessings to you.
Thank you.
Everybody watch this guy. He's one to watch. And if you ever get the opportunity to see this man on stage, take it. Please.
Thank you.
I hope we get to work together again one day, because that would just
Same.
be juicy.
And that would be a treat. Yeah, I miss you. I miss you a lot, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for thinking of me and for interviewing me. I'm very grateful, bro.
It is my honor, my privilege, and being with you on stage is chemical. You know, it's when theater's at its best, when it's just chemical. All right, I'll leave it there.
All right. I love you, man.
I love you too. Imagine some outro music.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this sun